It's Thursday, December 3rd, 2018. Excuse me, 2019. I've already done it. This is District Sentinel Radio Hangout 420 on the East Coast. I am Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
And we have Sam Knight here as well. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Thought I'd bring the vape for our inaugural 420 show.
Yeah, we are broadcasting out of the Barefoot is Legal studio in Washington, D.C. Shout out to the Street Fighters, the Street Fight Facebook group, which came together to purchase the studio name for this month. That's right? Is that right? Is that what's going on? Is that who purchased the studio name?
Yeah. Street Fighters Facebook group. It's oh, that vape hits hard. Oh, jeez. Now I know why I shouldn't have vaped on the air. It was the Street Fighters group, the best Facebook group on Facebook. I suppose that's a little redundant. It's a fantastic, whimsical place. It's sort of everything you want and hope the internet should be. And for those who don't know, I'm referring to the fan group of Street Fight Radio.
It's filled your void a bit since you've been kicked off of Twitter, but you were heavy into that before getting kicked off.
Yeah, I was. But the fact that the group was there made me feel like, you know what? There's just so much. There's a lot of bad content on Twitter, and it's kind of hard to navigate through because half of the reason you're on Twitter is to find the bad content and show everyone, hey, look at all this bad content that I found. So slightly less of that, I feel like, in the Street Fighters Facebook group.
Yeah, a little bit.
Barefoot is legal. You don't agree, though.
No, I'm not happy with the name. I mean, I'll respect the wishes of our studio sponsor. But I think people should have shoes and socks on at all times.
My problem with the Barefoot is Legal movement is I feel like it could be easily co-opted into forcing workers on the job to go barefoot in places where there could be danger to the Tootsies.
Yeah.
Or if not, force them to go barefoot. Maybe it would relax workplace footwear safety regulations, which are important. If you've ever walked around in a kitchen, you know, no open toe things, because a knife, for example, could fall on you.
Yeah. I mean, I think you should always pretend a knife can fall on you, on your feet at any time.
Even in an office kitchen.
Even in an office kitchen. Nate sometimes walks around the newsroom barefoot. Sam Knight has done it on rainy days before.
It's better than trench foot.
Yeah. I see some people in the chat room are worried about Intern Scully. Folks, Intern Scully is doing just fine. Just fine. In fact, Intern Scully might be stronger than ever before. So no need to worry about our strong, succulent Scully.
One last word about the legality of going barefoot here. Maybe maybe next month it should be the mandatory foot safety at the workplace studio.
See, I would appreciate that. The barefoot is illegal according to workplace safety regulations studio. I would appreciate that, but look, I'll call it whatever. If we've got some paying sponsors, we'll call it that. I wouldn't say this is offensive or problematic. I just personally
no, but
don't agree.
Look at our journalistic integrity, taking money from people who are saying that barefoot is legal, and here we are pondering perhaps mandatory barefoot illegality, at least at the workplace.
This is the first time we're switching up the content schedule a bit, as people who listened to our last show last year might have found out. We're cutting our live streams down. We're going to do this subscriber-only live stream once a week on Thursdays at 4:20. This is it. This is our welcome back from vacation / inaugural edition of District Sentinel Radio Hangout. It's just more of a loose show. You know, we're not formally doing the news of the day, although we will discuss a lot of the news of the day. There might be more takes. I don't want to say that.
They'll be newsy.
We try not to get too many takes
incisive
on this show, but yeah. We're just going to talk about news.
It's not going to be. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the take barometer is going.
Yeah. Starting next week will be the first full week of the new content schedule. We'll have bonus subscriber-only content on most days of the week. Might come in the form of us just coming on and talking about the news. We might take deeper dives into singular issues. It might be an interview with somebody we have. Either way, we'll have the continuous daily content for our subscribers, as well as for our non-subscribers, we'll have the news dump each day, the 2-3 minute quick rundown of the day's news. On Wednesdays, the big change is we're going to do a live stream in prime time now. District Sentinel Radio Live at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. That's going to premiere next week. I don't know what we have in store for the show yet, but we'll have something in store by Wednesday. We will be throwing somebody out in the garbage can at the end of the show. We'll have a guest, but right now it's a surprise as to what that show is going to be like. Thursdays is the Hangout, which we're doing now. And Friday, we're figuring out what Friday is going to be. It might be like a little pet project hobby show of ours that might appeal to fewer people and completely new people who don't normally listen to the podcast, but we haven't confirmed that yet. So I won't say any more on that. Anything you want to add?
Just that to reiterate, I may not be vaping every week for the 420 show, but I am vaping this week, so enjoy it.
I didn't realize. I thought we had discussed this. I asked Sam Knight whether or not our graphic for the 420 Hangout should have a bong, and he's like, no, better not. Now you're vaping on the show. Instead, I went with John McCain and Lindsey Graham with our faces imposed on them, which is a little bit creepy.
It is, but it's a funny image. I thought the weed leaf thing was just maybe a little. It was just maybe a little trying too hard.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay. Shall we get to our new segment from the inbox?
Let's do it.
What do we got in the inbox?
Was there going to be a graphic?
We're working on that.
We're working on the graphic.
From the inbox graphic.
So I thought this was a good early 2019 historical artifact. An email from a PR person, as I'm sure many of these will be going forward.
We have a temporary from the inbox graphic.
From the inbox. There we go. There's a graphic. It's the poop emoji if you're only listening through the audio on the SoundCloud channel. But I can guarantee you it is a nice little coil cartoon turd right there for everyone to see. Anyway, so as I was saying, early 2019 historical artifact from a PR person. I think we should probably leave these PR people nameless because they already have a terrible job.
Yeah, and plus, like, we're actually doing PR for them by highlighting this because most people just delete these emails and never think of them again.
That's true.
We're putting them on our platform here to ridicule them. But
we are, yes, we are.
I'm sure these dipshits would say any press is good press. So
that's true. If it was from a famous person or someone worth mentioning, we would probably note who sent it, but this is just a faceless PR drone. So reading from the email, or sorry, excuse me, let me get to the subject. The subject of this email is new book, When Political Conversations Get Ugly, Divert and Turn to Humor. It's a novel suggestion. So reading now from the email. With our nation's deep political divide, conversations around politics and current events can get downright nasty, even among family and the best of friends. But they don't have to be. Enter the new book, American Politics on the Rocks, the bizarre side of American politics. Okay, first of all, on the rocks. Like, this guy who wrote it is a bourbon bastard and wants everyone to know what a fantastic drunk he is.
Yeah.
By writing. So anyway, it's called American Politics on the Rocks, the bizarre side of American politics as the antidote, reading from the email, continuing, as the antidote to the inflammatory political discussion.
This title doesn't make sense. Like, America on the Rocks, which would suggest that America is, like, doomed.
Yeah.
Things are getting bad. And yet the subtitle is, like, all this kind of funny, wild, zany stuff that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is more remember a bygone era when our politics were more about these personalities and characters or something. But it doesn't really
instituting slavery and Jim Crow and segregation.
Right. I mean, it doesn't really make sense because it's sown the seeds of our current system, which didn't just fall apart overnight, of course. So this book is by a guy named Rich Rubino. Hey,
it's not real.
Rich Rubino, it's a fake name. So author Rich Rubino, according to his PR people, he showcases fun, humorous, and embarrassing moments of our so-called esteemed political leaders over the years. So these are the following are examples of anecdotes that you should turn to when political conversations get too heated. This is what you should go to, according to Rubino. Quote, which presidential candidate told a reporter, there is too much dignity in government now. What we need is some meanness.
I don't know, and I don't really care. Next time you're arguing with your uncle about whether kids should be put in cages, drop this icebreaker about zany political moments.
About how we need meanness. That will probably just get your person whipped up more. Like, goddamn right, we need some meanness. Another moment, the losing presidential candidate who deadpanned, there is nothing left to do but get drunk. That sounds pretty normal. These
are all not that like zany.
Politics on the rocks.
Like, oh, a politician is a human and drinks? That's weird.
You want these?
Let's write a whole book about that.
You want these humorous politics on the rocks? Time to get drunk. It's just dumb. All right, so then there was another moment. Which president threatened to fire on the spot any staff members who referenced the White House ghost, which they referred to as the Thing? This doesn't seem like it would instill confidence if you're trying to diffuse a political argument.
Yeah,
bringing up zany presidents who are ordering the staffers to chase phantoms, literal phantoms. Another moment, how American politics popularized the word okay. This is supposed to diffuse things when Uncle Terrence is yelling about how immigrants are
once
ruining
again,
America.
Who gives a shit about how American politics popularized the word okay, assuming that's even true? Sounds like a hot take to me.
Finally, again, just a great anecdote. This is what you're supposed to bring up. Who is the Republican U.S. Senator who loves gangster rap? Anyway,
I don't know.
This is if you weren't sick of cloistered dipshits who think politicians should be treated as celebrity personalities, Rich Rubino has the book for you. Sounds like the worst book in the world. Yeah.
News from the inbox there. All right, we have some haikus to read later in the show at the end. We'll get to the big story of the day, which, of course, is the 116th Congress kicking off today. But first.
So referencing something that we reported on or wrote about, I guess, in the... Yeah, we didn't really report on it. Anyway, it was in the most recent zine. We discussed some of the upcoming circus, the 2020 circus, the those presidential clowns. And one of them we noted is Amy Klobuchar, who basically it's an open secret in Washington that she's terrible to work for. And this is backed up by hard data, which shows over 15 years she has the highest turnover rate among Senate staffers, and it's not even close. Yet, for some reason, all these cloistered media dipshits like Josh Barro, they are begging for Amy Klobuchar to run for president. They love Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah.
And if she does run for president, which it's looking like she will, these stories about how she's awful to work for will eventually come out.
And I think they matter. I think they matter.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
If you mistreat your workers, I'm going to take that into consideration when it comes to my vote.
This Democratic primary is going to feature heavily working conditions as a political issue. Labor is going to be a big issue this Democratic primary. It's obvious going into it. And if Amy Klobuchar or any U.S. lawmaker who's running mistreats their workers, it will come up, it will matter, and it's going to be embarrassing. So in a certain regard, I'm kind of looking forward to Amy Klobuchar's campaign because it's going to be a total embarrassment. She's going to make Jeb Bush look like a paragon of competence. And
there's so many potential Jeb Bushes on the Democratic primary side.
There are. I think right now it's looking like Klobuchar's a shoo-in. Who knows? Maybe even Elizabeth Warren, quite frankly. She could be. Although I am happy she is entering the race, I guess. But we'll get to that in another time. Anyway, so back to Klobuchar. As luck would have it, after we published our thing, at the course of a party, I heard an amazing anecdote about Amy Klobuchar, and I can't really tell it, but just to reiterate, just to stress how much of a fucking
Wait, so why can't we tell it?
Well, I don't want to necessarily give away, who may have told it to me.
We haven't confirmed this.
No, we haven't confirmed this. It's kind of a it's a drunken thing. I just want to do this to illustrate a point, which is that Amy Klobuchar's 2020 campaign is such a foreseeable car wreck in slow motion. I am going to write down what it was that I heard, and we're going to put it in this envelope. It's called or there it is. Can you see it? It says only open after Klobuchar campaign collapses 2020. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to fold it up and put it in there.
Are you going to write it?
Yeah, I will.
Did you already write it down?
I did
not.
Write it down. I'm writing it down.
You're writing it down right now. Okay.
I thought it would be more dramatic if I wrote it.
Write it down. Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is something that information that has come into the Sentinel, although we can't determine its reliability because alcohol was involved. And we have yet to confirm this ourselves, but it's related to how bad of a boss Amy Klobuchar is. Sam Knight is writing the allegation on a piece of paper. Since we're not going to report on this, Sam Knight is writing the allegation on a piece of paper, which he is going to put in our makeshift envelope that's only to be opened after Klobuchar campaign collapses 2020. Go ahead. Sam Knight is putting it in the envelope.
I feel like I should tape it up to seal it.
Did we not find the tape? Oh, we got tape. We're going to tape it up so that nobody thinks... Is our assumption that this story is going to come out eventually? And it's going to be like, we knew it all along. Here's what it is?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to tape it up, and you guys are just going to have to trust us that we didn't, tamper with this and create a new envelope and a new thing put inside of it.
Yeah, I can tape the envelope too.
Yeah, tape the envelope.
So I will say that if it goes down in flames for other reasons, we're probably just going to tear this up and never read it. But anyway, the point is that I'm sick of all these fucking media dipshits who are who are using their platform to be like, Klobuchar 2020, and all these consultant class fucking wieners who are talking about how Klobuchar should run for president in 2020 and how she would be such a great candidate when it's just floating up there to the surface. How obvious that is not true. How obvious that is not true. It is so obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Talk to a congressional staffer, rank and file, for 5 minutes. You'll see.
All right, how's it coming over there? Have we sealed this yet? Oh, it's sealing now.
There we go.
Tape is happening. Do you want to put it? Do you want to put it in the bag back there, or hanging out of the bag in our studio here, and just
sure, why not?
Watch your earphones
let's do
here
that
when you get up. All right, we're gonna put it in our co-op bag that was given to us. Have it hanging out a little bit. Oh, all right, it's in. Okay, this didn't work out very well, but there you go. That's good for now. We'll find a better place for it tomorrow for next week's shows. All right, so there you have it. The Klobuchar compromat envelope behind us. We'll open it when we feel it's necessary, or never at all, I suppose. Okay, big news of the day. First day of the new Congress today, the 116th Congress. Lots of people on hand to see what's going on, particularly outside one member of Congress's office. Osita Nwanevu posted these pictures on Twitter. This is a scrum of people outside Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office here, all just to catch a glimpse of her, I suppose.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable to see just a line of people.
I mean,
filing past. I mean, she is in some regards a celebrity.
Oh, she's become a celebrity. I have always been sort of skeptical of politicians. Just it's a rule. You should always be skeptical of our elected leaders. I don't think we should
especially Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, I don't think we should act like fanboys and fangirls of elected leaders. It leads us into very bad spots. And those elected leaders are going to disappoint you. They will cast bad votes.
And if they don't disappoint you, you will look silly, like certain Bernie fans.
Yes.
Tone it down, people.
So I think everybody should maybe tone it down with AOC a little bit, as she hasn't even started doing her job yet. Though I will say the stuff she has done is pretty good. Pretty good so far. But, tread with caution on this. That's cynical Sam talking. At the same time, maybe there's nothing wrong with a politician that's inspiring. If people are inspired by a politician, there hasn't been one in such a long time that it can create such like a jaded feeling toward all politicians that maybe when someone comes around that seems authentic, it's okay to get a little, I don't know, fanboyish or fangirlish.
Yeah.
But I don't think AOC's done that yet. I think she needs to legislate a little bit, see what happens. Today she voted for Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, I see why she felt she had to.
Yeah,
but
I mean that was not a surprise, but
we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here.
As other people have noted, one promising thing about AOC is she has a propensity to make some of the more awful, boring people, or just outright amoral or evil people, amoral or immoral people. She just makes all the wrong people upset.
Yeah, which is good. Mitt Romney sworn in as a senator. He wrote an op-ed over the weekend. You noted on the Sentinel account how he has taken. Is John McCain's playbook?
Jeff Flake's playbook.
Sorry, Jeff Flake. Both of them, really. John McCain wrote the playbook, gave it to Jeff Flake, who's now handing it off to Mitt Romney on how to completely play the Washington press corps.
Yeah.
We won't fall for it.
I think we're going to see I hate to use the word, but bromance between Mitt Romney and Ben's ass. I feel like Mitt Romney brings to the table the same sort of just sort of hoaxy, empty, but ultimately mean conservatism that Ben Sass has, and Mitt Romney's going to do this as well, and he's going to make his point of getting up there and wagging his finger at Trump, and then he's going to vote with him 99.7% of the time.
Yeah, I see that happening. We did have the speaker vote today, which I alluded to. Right, Sam?
We did. As you noted, AOC voted for Pelosi. It was as expected, given that there was no real challenger to the left of Pelosi going into it. And one great moment, not great moment, I would say illustrative moment, greatly illustrative moment. We had Democratic House Caucus Chair Hakeem Jeffries. And this is to give you a feel for what a ceremonial Democratic circle jerk today was.
Let me be clear, House Democrats are down with NDP. Nancy
D'Alessandro Pelosi.
Sorry, that clip cropped out.
Is what Hakeem Jeffries said. That clip, that was very anticlimactic.
But that was...
Anyway.
You down with NDP? Yeah, it's bad.
So, in any hopes that Democrats would maybe go into this sort of, I don't know, being all humble and responsible, and no one expected them to take back the House this decade, but they did because, I don't know, we're amid a political crisis, and maybe we should just be a little more circumspect. Not the case. Not the case. We just had a bunch of fucking tone deaf, corny circle jerk shit praising Nancy Pelosi for being such an amazing leader, as opposed to what she is, someone who stumbled into this role again. Yeah, because the Republicans are so corrupt. And Democrats can't nominate a proper leader other
not
than
quite
someone
as bad,
who can fucking fundraise.
Not quite as bad as Republicans though today.
As always, no. That is the case. Let's pull up Republicans' answer to Hakeem Jeffries. We've got caucus chair Liz Cheney. Yes, that is the the daughter of the baboon-hearted former vice
Grand
president.
Wizard daughter.
Grand Wizard daughter. Anyway, Cheney is touting the Republican candidate for Speaker, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
Madam Clerk, because he will lead us in fighting for all the people of this great nation from all walks of life.
All lives matter.
Because he will stand against the fraud of socialism, which strips power from the people and gives it to the government.
You think they're afraid of Bernie? You think they're afraid of... I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say they're afraid of Bernie by saying this, because this is how they've always portrayed liberals. They've always said liberals are socialists. This isn't new.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear conservative Democrats have railed against, this is socialism. This is bad socialism when they're trying to rail against some Republican subsidy or something. And so I don't think this is necessarily preparation for Bernie. This is just Republicans being their usual shitty selves.
Yeah, there were some weird speaker votes, weren't there?
There were some votes. Jared Golden, who unseated Bruce Poliquin in Maine, he voted for Sherry Bustos for Speaker. Some other Democrats did too. We had Paul Gosar, the far right guy in Arizona. I think he was the one whose siblings campaigned against him in the most recent midterm elections. Paul Gosar voted for Jim Jordan, the creepy guy in Ohio. What's Jim Jordan's scandal? You remember the he was head of Ohio State wrestling while there was sexual abuse, endemic sexual abuse. He didn't do anything about it. Well, he got Paul Gosar's vote for Speaker. Anthony Brindisi, he's a freshman Democrat from upstate New York. He voted for Joe Biden for Speaker. I believe I heard there was a vote for General Mattis. From someone.
There was.
I
heard
assume
the
it was a
General Mattis
Republican.
vote.
I didn't catch who. Kathleen Rice of New York voted for Stacey Abrams for Speaker. Interesting rebuke of Nancy Pelosi. And Congressman Van Drew, he voted no, which wasn't actually an option, I don't think, and he switched to present, which conveyed the essence of his no vote.
Well, now that Pelosi is the Speaker, this came after 2 months of fighting over who should be Speaker, and progressives throwing their support behind Pelosi. I think it's worth seeing what they've got out of this deal to support the Pelosi speakership, and really not much. I mean, we haven't seen any committee assignments yet. Those will come out. Those should be out soon, right?
Yeah, they should be. They should be.
Like in the next day or so.
Rules vote didn't happen yet.
Yeah, we don't have this rules, but it's going to include PAYGO. It's going to pass. So far, only Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ro Khanna are the only ones who've come out saying that they're going to vote against the rules package, which includes PAYGO, which could be used to cripple progressive legislation because it demands that any new spending has to be offset with spending cuts or tax increases. The rules chairman, McGovern, said that he will ensure that a waiver is used so that things like Medicare for All, if assuming that legislation moves forward, doesn't apply to PAYGO or PAYGO doesn't apply to it. But why promise all these waivers when you could just not pass the fucking rule? Yeah.
And to be clear, there's no hope really of any progressive legislation being signed into law until 2021 at least.
Yeah.
But it is a really poor statement of intent to go into this Congress.
We've got a watered down Green New Deal committee.
Yeah, with
out of this
with little power.
So it looks like more of the same for me, and I feel like a lot of leverage was squandered. when we could have pushed Pelosi farther to the left and killed Pago before today. But we're going to just move on with it. There also has not been a vote yet. We're keeping an eye on the floor. There's supposed to be, in addition to the rules package vote, a vote to reopen the government. It's been closed. Most of the government has been closed throughout the holidays. David Dayen has an article today noting that the legislation doesn't give, while it does give back pay to federal workers, it doesn't give any back pay to federal contractors who do a lot of the janitorial work, clerical work, stuff like that. They won't get back pay. So these are folks that will, and roughly 2,000 of them work in D.C. So these are people who will stay screwed over even if the government's reopened. But look, even if this package is moved to reopen the government, Mitch McConnell's not going to hold a vote on it because Trump said he won't support it either way. So it looks like I don't see the government reopening anytime soon. I don't know.
Safe bet.
Other stuff going on today. We had the inauguration of fascist Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, and Netanyahu was there. Mike Pompeo was there, and then Mike Pompeo had a meeting with Bolsonaro. There's a readout from it today. Quote, "It's an honor for me to have the opportunity to be there and watch the transition of government here." The destruction of government, more like it. We've been watching closely. President Trump sends his regards as well. I spoke with him last night. He was watching on TV, of course, and he is very pleased with the relationship that our two countries are on the precipice of beginning to develop. What the fuck does that mean? Like, Brazil and the U.S. have had a relationship, but talking about this new two far-right leaders, they're acknowledging that they kind of have the same agenda here. Trump is also confident that it will benefit the world by a set of shared values. That's just awful.
Yeah, that was a really grim way to ring in the new year.
Yeah.
And to rub it in, we had more from on this subject matter from Nikki Haley, who, of course, is the establishment's darling. She's the one who is supposedly, I guess she was one of the adults in the room, along with the 7 other adults in the room who corporate media are desperate to sanitize. But Nikki Haley is obviously touted constantly as an inevitable future Republican presidential contender when Trump collapses from McDonald's, and she was very laudatory of Bolsonaro. She sent out a tweet.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Brazil's new president, Bolsonaro. It's great to have another U.S.-friendly leader in South America who will join the fight against dictatorships in Venezuela and Cuba and who clearly understands the danger of China's expanding influence in the region. So, wow. I mean, it's really grim. I mean, it's bad enough for Brazilians who have to deal with Bolsonaro, who's praised the military dictatorship, who's threatening LGBTQ people, and not only that, as we see in the Nikki Haley tweet, railing against Venezuela and Cuba, this and China as well. It really brings home like the world and global and geopolitical implications of Bolsonaro getting elected, and maybe it won't be as bad as we all fear, but fuck, it sucks.
It does suck. All right, let's turn to some brighter news here before we end things with some haiku. We've got some space news to talk about. I woke up, was scrolling through the timeline, and caught news that China landed a spaceship on the far side of the moon. This has never been done before. First country to do so. They've got some spaceship up on the far side of the moon, snapping pictures. There's a picture from the far side of the moon. They're the dark side of the moon, I guess, as they call it. Why isn't it dark? Maybe there's a light on the.
I think there is a light from the craft. That's
good.
That's getting the photographic evidence.
The more cynical part of me says, "Oh, China's landing shit on the moon. What are we doing? We're relying on Elon Musk to do all this stuff," which is partially true, but also kind of cool stuff. NASA sent launched some spacecraft in 2006 that is now 4 billion miles from Earth and is taking pictures of this weird icy snowman at the edge of the solar system there. This is called the Ultima Thule. That's what this object is called. It was photographed by the spaceship New Horizons, which flew past the object at 12:30 a.m. on Tuesday. Again, this is 4 billion miles from Earth. It came within 2,200 miles of this object. That's a long way away. That's kind of cool. So China might be on the moon taking pictures. We're taking pictures of this thing.
This thing, which kind of seems like it's at the start. You would see it at the start of a horror movie.
Apparently, these were two objects that collided and just stayed stuck together.
So it does look like a little snowman,
Yeah.
or they're coming.
They're coming.
They're coming. Not to bring this conversation down back to Earth, no pun intended, but there was some related space news that was not so great. We had Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accusing Iran of doing bad things in space. Pompeo issued a statement today, quote, The Iranian regime's Ministry of Defense has publicly announced plans to launch 3 space launch vehicles, SLV, in the coming months. Such actions would once again demonstrate Iran's defiance of UN Security Council Resolution 2231. 2231 was the resolution affirming the Iran nuclear deal, which the Trump administration pulled out of and deliberately violated. Now they get to cite this UN resolution too, which they themselves don't appear to be adhering to the spirit of, to say the least. Pompeo said that space launches, quote, incorporate technology that is virtually identical to that used in ballistic missiles, including the intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. An ICBM with a range of 10,000 kilometers could reach the United States. Why would they need to reach the United States? We've got military bases all like surrounding their country.
Yeah.
They could totally hit. Pompeo concludes, noting that the Trump administration stands ready to increase hostilities over an international agreement that it was the first to violate. Quote, the United States will not stand by and watch the Iranian regime's destructive policies place international stability and security at risk. So, I don't know. I think it would be smarter for Democrats to complain about this aspect of the Trump administration and their national security policy rather than hand-wringing and tearing their shirts and getting horny for war about proposed troop withdrawals from Syria and Afghanistan.
Agreed. I noticed some people on Patreon over the weekend or over the break had talked about a year ago we did a show in which we were making predictions for 2018. We predicted, like, we were there with Marvin and Jorts, who did the Working Week podcast. Anyways, we all predicted that there'd be an economic crash, that there'd probably be another major war. We predicted maybe an awful company would get unionized like Amazon. They did get pay raises, but
they did recognize collective bargaining too. They didn't call
so we were
they
close.
didn't call it that, but they have recognized the practice of collective bargaining.
We predicted Trump might die in office due to snacks. So we got a lot of these wrong, but we're going to keep it safe for 2019.
Okay.
What do you predict, Sam Knight?
My safe prediction is, well, I first I want to say that maybe we should have bumped the Trump snack death prediction
to
up
this
a year
year
because
I think it's going to happen this year.
The stress is certainly more likely this year with House Democrats with subpoena power. So maybe we weren't so wrong in that prediction, and just our timing was a bit off. But
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it safe this year. I'm going to predict a bad earthquake will happen somewhere, and that at least one Fortune 500 company will go bankrupt. That's my prediction.
That's good. I'm going with Trump dies of snacks this year.
I think reading back at some of the predictions, Marvin said there would be a Bitcoin crash. Well, he was right that Bitcoin did go down. At the time, I think it was like something like 19,000. It wasn't hard to predict that Bitcoin was going down. I think I said there will be a sovereign debt or financial crisis in Europe. Totally wrong.
Yeah.
Totally wrong.
Totally wrong. All right. Before we conclude our hangout, we've got to give some gifts to our new subscribers in the form of poetry. It's time for our little haiku break here.
I think I will start us off.
You want to go ahead and start us off?
With a haiku for James.
Let's hear it.
This is for James, as I said. 2019, will Democrats be weenies? Bet the Farmini.
Thank you, James.
That's Italian for farm.
This one goes out to EL. When my stomach hurts after eating cheese, I say, tum-ta-tum-tum-tums.
Thank you, EL. And you're welcome to the people at the Tums Corporation. We just gave free advertising to.
Whoops.
Finally, this is for Patrick. Democrats pass it. The bill you've been waiting for. The Do Better Act.
Thank you, Patrick. Andrew, Rob, we'll get your haikus next week. We see you out there. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks to all the new subscribers on Patreon. That's patreon.com/District Sentinel. $5 a month. Get you access to bonus content. All the good stuff. All right, folks. Anything going on in the chat room there?
We have Jared Holt making an appearance.
Jared Holt.
He said,
Jared Holt.
I'm watching this at work, doing my part to make Sentinel boys proud.
Thank you, Jared. It's good to hear from you. We got to get Jared back on the show. It's been too long.
We do. There was a response, which was, if Jared Holt, Randall says, if Jared Holt is here, then who is keeping an eye on the anti-Semitic virgins?
That is a good question. Thanks to our sponsor, the Congressional Dish podcast, hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Call the rant line, 202-684-6108. Leave a message. We'll play it on air. Sentinel Boys are back next week with all sorts of new content. We're here in D.C. so that you don't have to be.